This is emotion art. Emotion meaning everything, and art meaning everything. It makes no sense. This is a conversation I had with Bonnie. We've been in each other's lives for 18 years now, and we share 5 fantastic boys biologically. But the conversation wasn't really about a wife or a mother. It was about a human, Bonnie. And Bonnie is her own introduction. Enjoy. Hello, Bonnie.
Hello, Michael.
We have a lot of history together.
Oh,
What,
yeah.
18 years? Try my luck guessing.
That's pretty good. Been married 17, known each other, been together 18. So, yeah.
You're a big part of my story.
Mm-hmm. Same. You're a huge part of my story.
I've known you for a long time, but everything I know about you is biased by my worldview. What I'm curious about is what the world looks like from inside your head, inside your emotions. The question is, who are you?
A happy puppy. I like to play a lot. I like to laugh a lot. I like to say what's in my head and not say what's in my head and just enjoy being happy. I really like to enjoy being happy.
You identify with happiness.
Deeply.
So where do you come from? What's your origin?
Well, when a bird and a bee love each other. Came from a pretty big family, Catholic family. One of my early memories is sitting on the hardwood floor in my childhood home under the skylight on a sunny day, and the sun is streaming through the skylight, making a rectangle patch of sunlight on the floor. There were 2 skylights right next to each other, and those 2 spots were always warmer than the rest of the hardwood floor. And I would just sit there because I liked it. Or I would dance under the skylight and I would spin around in a circle and just be like a kid.
Would you consider that memory to be inside of what feels like the first stage of your life? Like if you were to divide your life up into stages.
I feel like I would have a lot of stages.
So how long did that carefree child stage last?
Quite a while, I would say. I felt like I matured pretty late for the time. I would say I was probably like pretty idyllic sort of carefree child until I was 11.
What was the overall feeling of that stage?
Completely fulfilling, beautiful, calm, peaceful. I didn't really have a lot of desire to like do anything quote wrong, you know. I just wanted to just be happy and play with my sisters. And
How many sisters did you have? Can you describe like what your upbringing looked like structure-wise?
I have 4 sisters and a brother. My brother's the oldest, and older sister, and then 7 years, and then there's 4 of us girls really close in age. And we were all kind of like a tribe. We went everywhere together and dressed alike. We were very close, very close. We had our own language basically, and homeschooled together and played together.
Do you have a lot of friends that were homeschooled, or were you kind of solo in it?
Yeah, we did have a lot of friends that were homeschooled. Well, at least what I thought was a lot, you know, it was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 families that were big like ours, but, you know, not necessarily all girls or whatever, you know, but I had lots of homeschool friends in church groups, and, you know, we did homeschool activities together, which was fun. We got to do things that a lot of kids in school didn't get to do. Like we could go to the skating rink like whenever we wanted to, basically. You know, like time of day. It didn't really matter. We didn't have to wait. We went to the library a lot. We like went to the zoo and stuff like on a Monday. an OMSI every now and then.
Were you conscious of appreciating that freedom in at the time, like of its rarity?
Yeah, I would say that my mom would kind of like say that. She would be like, well, just remember, girls, other girls your age, other kids your age are in the middle of school right now. They're just sitting at a desk wishing they could play outside.
You have it so good.
Yeah, you have it so
I think
good.
that's parents' job. Say that, remind their kids of that. So you said that stage lasted till you were 11.
Mm-hmm. Then boys. I guess that part was pretty early, but it was right around that time I started to discover my deep infatuation with crushes. Any, slightly cute guy that would come to the property that worked for my dad. Us girls would we would spy on them from the windows. We'd be like, peek out the window and be like, oh, he's so cute. Oh no, he saw us. It was also very innocent and pure.
How long did that stage last?
Forever up until right now.
Okay.
That never ended.
So then when you were 11, you entered boy stage, and here we are.
End of my life story.
Okay. Okay. So I can think of many stages in your life, although I know you like boys. I think that that's not the biggest thing in your life.
Oh, no.
So I guess the question is, what else defines that stage? What else did that stage feel like, or what did it feel like?
Well, that's when I feel like deeper emotions kind of started to sort of formulate. I would start to get frustrated and, like I got those early teen angst feelings. But honestly, most of the time I was the peacemaker because my older sister and my sister right below me, they fought a lot. And I was the peacemaker between them. I was the peacemaker between all my siblings, pretty much, except for my older brother and older sister. They are pretty much out of the house by the time I was 13, 14. My older sister was off in college and my brother, same, sort of.
You guys were almost different generations.
Basically, yeah, like in a lot of ways, it kind of felt like cousin or aunt and uncle, kind of. Not so much anymore, but that's good. And then I remember distinctly right around, like I was 16 and I got my license and I started to not appreciate the rules and the regulations, that my parents had. And I disobeyed them or I lied to them. And weirdly, I didn't really feel much guilt about that. Like, I just was like, whatever, I'm spending the night at Molly's house and then I went to a party or whatever, I didn't really, I never snuck out. I didn't really have the drive to do that because I knew I was going to get caught. And I was like, I don't want to get caught. So I just did all my bad deeds away from the home.
How thoughtful of you.
I know. I was just trying to protect my family. Still always happy though. Pretty much. I went through like a very, I would say pretty short, darker time. Can't really pinpoint exactly like what I'm referring to when I say that.
What does it feel like?
Well, it was again when I was driving. I was 16-ish, maybe 17. I pulled off on the side of the road and it was nighttime and I was over by the airport off of, where I grew up. And I like laid on the hood of my car and watched an airplane go like land. I was like in a movie. And I was like crying and I think I like yelled and stuff. I was mad. I don't remember what I was mad about. Something my parents, was like some rule probably.
Maybe it was all part of the rebellion.
Yeah. Like just feeling frustrated. I'm a very social person, but I started to go off by myself a lot. I would go on really long walks, like for hours in the woods or like down the road and then like cross through in the woods to get to our property. And yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to talk to myself. I talk to myself a lot and I still do that. I just wanted to like make up stories. A lot of it was making up stories. Like I always wanted to like run away. And that didn't really make sense why I would want to run away because my life was pretty freaking great.
Was it more of an excitement thing?
I wasn't like dissatisfied necessarily. I was just like, oh, I just want to like get a dog and then like go and hike that mountain and then just be over there on that mountain over there. Like I can just see it and then I could just keep walking. Just be me and my dog.
Just like the homeschool books.
Just like the homeschool.
Where's your next life stage start?
Next phase started for me when I moved out of my parents' house. Graduation wasn't really that big of a deal. I didn't really care about that. Didn't feel college pulling to me. I knew from a very young age that I wanted to be a mom and I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom.
Do you think that that was something you had learned, or do you know why? Why you felt that way?
I felt drawn to it, and this piece is definitely there too. People would often say, "Oh, I think you would be a really good mom," because I liked kids and I liked, just being like a weirdo with kids. They would say, "Oh, you'd be such a great mom." So that kind of fell into that like narrative, I guess, of sort of building like a future story for myself. Oh, I would be a great mom. Oh, I am good at that. It was always getting built upon. Like every experience I had was just like, oh yeah, see, look, I am a good mom. It's like, what's that thing that you say sometimes? What the seeker seeks, the finder finds. I think is that's it. And I felt like I wanted to be like my mom, where she was staying at home. She cared for us. She, baked bread and cookies and baked our meals and took care of my dad. And they went into their room and talked every night. And they read books together. And I just I was like, oh yeah, this is the life I want. What I see in front of me. I hadn't seen anything different either.
And it sounds like you had a pretty content
Definitely,
childhood.
for sure. It was very, very peaceful and calm most of the time.
How was your relationship with your parents when you moved out, and how did it feel to you to move out?
My relationship with my parents was still pretty good, I would say, when I moved out. My dad was my landlord. I moved in with my older sister. So I was 17, and my mom told us, oh, you're not allowed to move out until you're 18. And then she's like, actually, you can move out if you live with your sister. And I was like, okay. So I graduated and moved in with my sister that summer and worked at the gelato shop that we opened together. When I moved out, I had a boyfriend that lived in Eugene, and we hadn't been dating for very long. It was just like a couple months. And he helped me move out. And then I broke up with him the next day.
Starting off with a bang.
Yes. I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Oh, terrible. Whatever. So after I started living with my sister, we got into all kinds of hijinks and started smoking pot and drinking a bunch. I don't even know where we got the beer from. I guess she must have had older friends. And there was like a couple of older people in my life, that they would get us beer, and mostly hard alcohol actually. And we'd smoke weed, and weed was illegal. So it was really hard to get. You had to, you had to have a guy, and then that guy had a guy, So it was like this whole process to just get high. So we'd go and I'd work in the gelato shop a bunch, and then I'd, party on the weekends and sometimes go to church and, on Sunday and go to lunch with my family. But most of the time I was just gone. Like I just didn't really go back home. Like I just did laundry at the laundromat, like that was at my apartment. And like I said, my dad was my landlord. One time I got really low on money, because I wasn't very good at saving at that point. And I had to ask him for an advance on my check because he was also my boss. He was my boss and my landlord and my dad. That was a lot. So yeah, he lent me $400. I paid it back with interest, of course, being 18 and all.
So you're moving out, partying.
Had a great time. Such a great time. Lots of friends. Lots of friends.
Fun stage.
Yeah, and also people came to our house a lot, which was cool. And the reason that we moved out of that situation was because my older sister was she just was like, she just needed a big change. So she just moved to Seattle. So I had to find a different living situation. And I moved in with some friends from work, and it was a co ed house, which was super fun. I liked that one too. It was a lot of fun. Lots of people came to our house a lot. There's always people there. I, in fact, never lived alone. I have never lived alone in my whole life.
Hmm.
Not even for like 10 minutes.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's a little strange. There's a little part of me that says, I should do that. And then there's another part of me that's like, it will happen someday, Bon. Don't worry. And that's just because of, death. So I'm not really rushing for it to happen. I think I'll be fine with it when it does. But right now in this moment, I'm like, I enjoy the fact that I have always lived with people and I like it. I like to live with people.
So, 17.
Mm-hmm.
How long did this stage last for?
Till I met you. I was 19, so basically 17 to right around 20. Yeah, probably 20. I mean, I met you when I was 19, but we didn't start dating until I was 20, I think. And I was definitely living it up. When you weren't with me, that's what I was doing. I was just hanging out with my friends and working and partying and seeking joy, I guess. Still going on walks, still, I was trying to explore different aspects of myself, like, do I like reading books? Yeah, I kind of like reading books. Like always trying on different sort of personas a little bit, like, what kind of person am I?
Did you feel like you were pretty connected to yourself? I mean, it sounds like you're remembering it as exploring
Mm-hmm.
your likes and dislikes.
Mm-hmm.
Was that intentional? Were you aware of it? Looking back, how connected would you say? How connected to yourself were you?
I would say that I was fairly connected. I wouldn't have been able to have the words for the emotions that I currently feel like I have,
Mm-hmm.
and I still feel like I have a long ways to go. But I knew when I was happy, and I knew when I was sad, and I knew when I was feeling anxious and stuff like that. A lot of the time, and I still feel like this, a lot of the time when I look back at my memories, I feel like I would drop into a moment and then that was just where I was. Like literally everything else disappeared in the world because I wasn't there. I do always still feel that way when I go to work. I'm like, oh, I'm at work and this is what I'm doing, and this is the experience that I'm having, and these are the people that I'm talking to because these are the people that are right here. I love that.
It sounds like you live relatively present.
I think that I do. When I learned about how people don't live presently or whatever
In the present, sure.
in the present, um, I was very confused about that. I was like, what else would you be doing?
Hmm.
Like, I've been sad, like I missed you when you were in Iraq, but still, by the same token, I still was having a good time. I was still being myself. I was hanging out with friends. I was hanging out with our kids. And, I was like making an effort to always just find the joy in the day because it's always there to be found 100% of the time.
And you started having kids.
I got pregnant a month after we were married. And I was like, this is the life I'm supposed to be living. I quit my job. You were working 2 jobs. And that was like a decision we made together. You stay at home with the kids, and I go to work, and this will be great. And when our oldest son was 9 months old, he might have been 6 months old, we found out that you were going to Iraq for a year. And we had about 9 months to prepare. When you left, he had not turned 1 yet. And I was pregnant with our second son. That year in particular was very formidable. Felt like I built up a lot of tolerance and independence and trauma and codependency, all wrapped into a neat bubble. The year 2009. It was very painful. I remember you you were leaving, and I don't know. I went over to my parents' house. I don't know why you weren't there. Maybe you were working. And I was there with our baby, and I was not yet pregnant, I don't think. And I walked out into one of the places I used to walk out into when I was young, little. And I walked out there, and we called it the echo place because you could shout right there and it would echo back. And I walked out there, and I just like screamed, and I was so angry that you were leaving. And I just cried, and I was just like sitting with my feelings of, I don't want to do this by myself. And, like, this feels hard. Like, parenting is hard enough, but now I'm going to, like, parent by myself, like, and then, we'll probably have another baby while you're gone. And that was sort of like a little bit of the plan, but, we didn't really know if that was going to happen or not. And it did. And then that was really hard.
What are your feelings around how we set up our family?
I really loved it. I felt like it worked really well. I would say most of the time it was really peaceful. The kids cried. I mean, they cry every day until they're about 9. Every single day, all of them. Whatever. That's fine. So being a parent to a lot of young kids all at once was difficult, especially when you were working at Modern Crete and you were traveling for like weeks at a time. Or you'd be gone for like a week, and you'd be home for like a week, and then you'd be gone for like 3 weeks, and you'd be like home for like, 4 days. That whole system was difficult because I tried really hard to like make a routine, because I personally like routine, but I know kids like routine too. Then, like we would get into this routine of, like what it was like when you were gone. And then when you were home, it usually took like a day. And then it was the routine of when you were home, and then like versa versa. And then we'd have to go through this like a lot. So it was a very interesting cycle that we went through, the kids and I. And we missed you. And, I mean, I cried a lot just because like I was a mom of a lot of kids, little kids. It's like, am I doing this by myself? But I had a really good support system with my mommy group friends and my sisters. I was still really close with my sisters and my parents. They were very supportive. I liked the structure. I felt like we did a lot of like the right things, I guess. I mean, how are you gonna say that's right or wrong, But I felt like for the kids that we wanted to raise, we did what we wanted or how we felt like the outcome would be. And in a lot of ways, I felt like we were fairly aligned. And that felt good, because I didn't feel like I had to fight you for this and that with the kids. Well, it wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good. It was pretty good. And then when the oldest started going to school, that was pretty intense because like he and I were very close. I watched my mom like give us every cell of her body, basically. She just gave us all of herself. Mind, body, soul. And it was always to us. And like at the end of the night, she would just like be so tired, and she'd go to bed. And then in the morning, she'd do it all again. She was still happy. She was like a happy person, she like sang and all that stuff. And she was really sweet.
You come by it naturally.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I also knew when I had the kids, like the very first times I started leaving them at the gym, like you can leave them in the little play area and stuff and like go work out. I was like, oh, I'm totally fine with this. Like there were other mommies that were like in my stage, and they were like, I can't even be away from my baby for 20 minutes, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, they're fine. I never felt that way. And I was like, that's so weird. Why don't I feel like that? I love them, like they are I think about them all the time, but I don't know. I always felt like I just had this life that I was still desiring to live as well, as well as being a mom, as well as being a parent. And a wife. I was like, well, still got that Bonnie in there. Still got that person that likes to go walk and talk to herself and, listen to music really
Try new
loud,
things.
try new things, and spend time with her friends. That person, she's still in there, there's no stopping that. So I kind of had mom guilt for feeling like it was fine when, like just not missing them as dearly as maybe other people did. That's comparison, though. I don't need to do that. Do plenty of that already.
How very human of you.
Yeah. No shit.
So when does the curtain fall on this stage?
When's the youngest started going to school? I feel like there was about a year there was still a lot of, mommy time, like mom and kids and stuff. And then I went through a time when I was all done being a mom. I don't want to not be a mom, but I was all done doing it 24/7. And I got away as much as I could.
Was this after Sawyer went to school?
Yes. It was a year after Sawyer already had been in school because it was after COVID. And during that time, I felt like I was there. I did all the mom things still, like I cooked and I cleaned but there was a part of me that was trying to remind myself and discover the Bonnie that I felt like I was missing. I'm not just this, mom all the time. I'm Bonnie.
Did you feel like you had lost yourself? Or do you feel like you just wanted to continue the journey of finding yourself?
Maybe a little both. I'm not exactly sure. I just knew I had to. And so I did. And I left him with you a lot. And you were super supportive. And left him with you and Angela. And, went off with Matt and also by myself and, rekindled friendships and things like that. And
Yeah, so this is kind of coming after we met Matt and Angela.
oh, yeah. Because we met Matt and Angela before Sawyer was born.
So that was all part of the curtain closing on the last chapter. What was that whole part like for you? I mean, obviously, this is a little bit of a head game because I went through all this with you.
Right, I know.
But I didn't go through it as you.
No.
So I don't know what it looks like to you. Even if I think I do, even if I know parts of it. So I'm curious what your experience was.
I met Angela in a mommy group. And she and I were friends and friendly. And then things shifted after I had a very traumatic birth with our son, Boston. And she became much closer to me. It was kind of just almost happenstance. She was the only one that could actually come and support me physically because my sisters all had little kids or were pregnant. You were working. My mom was there with me pretty much the whole time, but she also had to go home, And Angela came and helped support me a couple of times in the hospital. And that really shifted our relationship to become much closer. So we started hanging out a lot. We worked out together at the gym, which was super fun. And I really loved that phase of my life. Wish I could do it again.
Working out at a gym or
Working out at the gym with Angela super early in the morning.
I gotcha. Just the whole
just
feel
that
of
whole situation. It was like this neat experience. And that lasted for, I think, maybe 2-ish years. And she would come over sometimes when you were gone. And we would drink wine and make garlic bread and laugh and talk and all this stuff. It's super connect. And that started to really feel like a place of safety in a woman, which I had not felt other than my sisters, pretty much at all. I was always far closer to guys than women. So she and I got really close. We commiserated on being parents of little kids and, sometimes getting annoyed with our husbands for this and that and the other. And then you were traveling a lot and I was really lonely and really wanted like just someone to be close to, and to have fun with. When you were home, we would have fun together. You and I would have fun together. And I also wanted to have fun when you were gone, So we started talking about what it would be like if I had a boyfriend. And maybe it was you that was like, what about Matt? And I was like, oh man, he's super cute. But, him and Angela, I don't want to, I don't want to fuck anything up with Angela. Like, she's my lady. She's my bish. And then, I don't know, I talked to Angela about it at the gym. She was like, oh, whatever. This will just be like a fun little fling. And so she talked to him about it. Yeah, it was a whim. And then it was really great, right off the bat. It was just like, whoa, nice. And I had not kissed another person, forever. Since, you and I started dating. So it was great. It all started out on that high note, and a little bit on a whim.
Well, that is quite a life scene change.
Oh yeah, huge life scene change.
Coming from the background you came from to kind of make that transition. How did that transition feel inside you, like for you?
It was pretty intense, especially religiously. I was still consider myself a Catholic at the time. And I had a lot of strange moments of just super intense, guilt. And then super intense, feelings of joy and pleasure and happiness, and being like, why am I feeling guilty? I don't understand. If God made us, why did he give me this happy feeling when I'm with a person that's not my husband? But I'm also feeling happy when I'm with my husband. I don't understand. And everybody knows everything. Why is this wrong? I lived in the moment as best as I could. You only learn how to be judgmental because people teach you how to be judgmental, right? So in stage 1, I was just a kid being like, this is the warm part of the floor. I want to sit here. And I have that inside of me very deeply. And when I access that part, sometimes on hallucinogenics, it becomes overwhelmingly clear that living in the moment is the most pure joy that I have felt in my life. That is actually true.
Unlike everything else that you're saying?
Shut your face. I also have a very big imagination, a huge imagination. Remember how I was talking about how I would imagine running away and what it would be like? And I imagined all of that for years and years and years. I would think about it at night when I was falling asleep next to you. I would be like, what would it be like if I just ran away? It's a weird fantasy that I don't want to do. It's just always been there. And it's it never stopped. So you're like, when did that stop? I'm like, never. Still think about it.
Well, you said in the beginning that you're about how you feel possibly a little bit of looking forward to someday when all of the death that you foresee coming in your life is going to leave you still alive yourself, but utterly, completely alone.
Yeah, which is probably not going to happen because I have so many people that are like, dude, I totally want to live with you and you're super awesome. And I'll be like, okay.
And you do like to go out and find new experiences.
I know.
Are they all safe?
Probably not.
Well,
oh, are you saying that I'm going to die?
Your imagined future may turn out differently than you think. Who knows?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
How does that make you feel that there may be a reality where you never actually end up living alone? How does that make you feel?
Totally fine. I don't give a shit. I'm it's so joyful to be in a home with human beings that I care about. I don't know. I just really like that. Yeah, that's just not that big of a deal to me. Vanessa,
you say whatever you want.
Poo poo pee pee caca.
What else? What else do you want to say right now?
Garbledygook.
You do fit well with middle school boys.
Yeah, I know. They're so fun. They're going to be all old and boring someday. Buh. Hopefully they have middle school boys and I can hang out with them.
I mean, they have you for a mom, so who knows what they're going to turn out like.
They're so much fun. Oh my gosh.
So, along you're going in stage 4.
In stage 4, crazy in love, having a relationship, a polyamorous relationship, secret polyamorous relationship.
Oh, secret.
Yeah, secret.
What does that feel like to you? What?
Horrible.
But what are you talking about when you say secret? Because you were just talking about how open it is.
You're right. That's Canunge. Secret from the public. The public did not know. But inside our little 2-family unit, we obviously knew everything about everything with each other. I would continue to go out to the Peacock. And I mean, that's where I met Cody. That's when I met Cody.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm learning something I didn't know right now.
No, I'm only just saying. I'm just saying that, like on record.
Okay. Gotcha.
That saying.
Does it feel good to get that off your chest? How long would you say that this stage, generally speaking, like how long do you feel like it lasted for, or when did the curtain close on this stage?
So, all right, kind of rewinding, I think, so Sawyer's already born and he's off to school, and then I'm in this, I gotta get away. That's when I started going out dancing. That's when I started, meeting people. But I was still crazy in love with Matt. You and I were still vibing, and Angie and I were hanging out. And then I was like, I don't want to just be only a mom. I don't only want to just be a mom. So I never told these people that I would meet at the bar or whatever. I only made out with a couple guys, but I never told them I was mom, unless I wanted them to go away. And now I don't give a shit. I tell anyone I'm a mom. I don't care. If you can't tell I'm a mom at this point, whatever. I don't care. But yeah, I met Cody there. I never told him. Well, not that I never told him. I told him, but not when he was kissing me on the dance floor. Yeah. So that sort of ended when the relationship ended with all 4 of us. 2021, February of 2021. The deep darkness had consumed you, and it was a part of all of our lives.
How was that for you?
It was very abrupt. It had been growing, but it became very abrupt all at once. You just stopped talking when you came home. You were just home and you were just silent, or you went outside and you sat near a tree for 2 hours. And I was worried about you. So it was really painful to watch because I felt completely helpless. I didn't know what to do. And then we would argue or fight. And then I'd be like, oh, it's probably because we're fighting. And maybe sometimes it was. I don't know.
Are you talking about a time before?
This is before we
okay.
all broke up. Yeah. I would say this was end of 2019 and all of 2020 pretty much. It was deep, and it was dark, and it was icky and sticky, and a tree sap stuck to everything that it touched. And then I started to feel frustrated that I couldn't do anything to change how you felt. No matter what I did, I tried being your cheerleader. I tried being the person that's it's gonna be okay, and no worries. I tried to be happy enough for both of us, and that didn't do anything. I tried to just sit with you, and that didn't do anything. I feel like I wasn't able to give you what you needed. Angela and I didn't know how to support you. We talked about it all the time. We cried about it.
What was your perspective of, how did you process what you were seeing?
What I felt like I was seeing was that you had become clinically depressed. I felt like you were not the type of person that I would ever consider taking you to a doctor literally never crossed my mind. I was like, he's strong enough. He will figure this out. And he's just going through it. So I'm just going to buckle down and go through it with him. And At this point, your relationship with Matt had become very toxic. So for me, from my perspective, I was dealing with an extremely depressed husband. My best friend was freaking out, and I felt like this weird glue that was stuck between three people that I loved with my whole life. And also being a mom of 5 and loving the girls as my own daughters. It was a very painful time because we were also in quarantine, half of it. So I started to get this feeling that was very reminiscent of the feeling that I had when you were in Iraq, where I was doing it alone. I was parenting alone, and I was taking care of myself alone. You were bringing in money, and you were there. Your body was there, but you couldn't really, like, we couldn't connect. We couldn't be physical. It was just very difficult. So in that space, I felt like I started to turn inward, and I was like, I am my own person. Bootstraps, bootstraps. Something that I came to realize that it wasn't my responsibility to fix you, and I became too impatient to watch you fix yourself. So I let you be. I felt like I was on my own. So then I became on my own. It's like what the thinker thinks, the finder finds.
What the thinker thinks, the prover proves is
Prover
from
proves.
Prometheus Rising, I believe. Robert Anton Wilson.
I never read that one.
From what I could tell reading it, it felt like the purpose of the book was just to try to crack a worldview open. That's how it felt like it helped me. But I believe that's where that quote's from. What the thinker thinks, the prover proves. And that was a formative quote for me too.
I didn't understand it until Angela explained it to me in a different way, of course. How very Bonnie of me. So that chapter of my life felt like I just didn't know what to do. So I was like drowning.
So then we come to the breakup.
Yeah, broke up.
And how was that for you?
What
was your experience with that?
It was awful. It was the most heart-wrenching. I've never had heartbreak like that in my life. You called a meeting. Sat on our bed, all 4 of us, February evening, and you said, I can't do this anymore. I can't live in a life where the person that I'm in family with doesn't like me. I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry, Angela. It's over. Or I need to end it. So that was like really fucking awful. I didn't feel like I could breathe, really. I just cried all the time. And then nobody around me really understood what was happening. Like, the kids didn't really understand. My family didn't get it. They were like, they knew that you were in a depression, but they didn't understand why.
And I mean, at this point,
nobody knew.
Still nobody knew.
A couple of our super close friends, and that was it. Everyone else was in the dark. Family, friends, even Mariah. And it was like, all right, well, it was me and Michael. Me and Michael again. Okay. What's that going to be like? And then I was just resentful and angry and frustrated and pent up and sad and emotional, and I couldn't freaking think. I couldn't think about anything. I listened to the entire series of the Stormlight books while pulling weeds out of the front yard because I had to not cry. And they're like 40 hours long. Like, I listened to all, like, I don't know, 6 books or whatever, 4 books. I didn't know what to do. I was not prepared for that. The only way to prepare me for it was to just do it. I'm always going to miss that guy. Truly forever. But this is for the best. So then it was like 4 of us broke up in February. and they got divorced beginning of August. And Angela and Matt were still living together for a couple of weeks. And then we invited her into our life and said, you are always welcome here. In fact, you are wanted here. But she did. She wanted to. And then opened up into a new relationship. It was a weird, strange transition because it was an old relationship for you and Angela, but it was also new for you two. And then it was new for the three of us. And that was a very unique time. Even though I would say it was pretty hard, I still really liked it. It was pretty difficult because I was still really in the depths of missing and going through a lot of heartbreak pain because I just felt like it was breaking over and over and over and over. Because I was like, Matt's not here. It's like, here we are having fun, the three of us, but Matt's not here, It was tough.
But it felt pretty fun for you.
Definitely.
Like a fun time, fun stage.
Yeah, it was like, I felt like it was an exploring stage, definitely. Like there was a lot of new and interesting, crazy exploring things that were fun. That was pretty great. Did lots of drugs, had lots of sex. And then we also talked a lot. And that part was the part that I struggled with because I was really thinking a lot. Like I was always thinking a lot about my own pain. And then when we would talk and stuff, I would just be like, I just don't want to do this anymore. I just want to do something, I want to do something. I don't want to think or talk. I just want to do. And then I started to be like, why am I not doing? I'm going to go do. And then I started doing. And then that was painful. I think that was painful. Probably for you guys. Because I was just like, I don't want to talk. I just want to do.
I think that boundary finding is always painful for the people around the boundary finder. To find one's boundaries it has to be a painful experience if you don't have them.
Oh, yeah.
And messy. Go on. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I have to pause for a second. I cannot hold my pee any longer.
Go. Go. What?
Back. I can think again.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Do you remember where you were?
Yeah. Three of us were having a good but tough time. And then I was still really dealing. Really, really dealing. You guys were very supportive, though, of me going off and doing my own thing and whatever. And you're like, oh, why don't you get on a dating site, I was like, okay. What's that going to be like? And for some crazy reason, I thought that it would just be, for fun and there wouldn't be long-term attachments. And I would say that is 100% true, except for 1%. That's just one person. But
I mean, we never planned for the happenings in our life.
No.
So how did that feel for you, that whole experience of kind of branching out yet again into this whole dating app and kind of going that direction?
Super exciting. I was very excited. I felt like, I was like, whoa, these people that I love and I'm choosing to spend my life with really support whatever I want to do, no matter what it is, even though it sounds crazy that I'm like, oh, what if I go and, go on a dating app? Well, it's like, great. Awesome. Dude, if that sounds like fun for you, I think that's awesome. Not very many people get to experience the kind of support that I personally have gotten to experience being in a relationship with you and Angela. It is deep desire for me to do what I want to do. So that felt like the ultimate freedom. the only constraint was myself. And I definitely found the edges of my own self, found the places where I needed to put up boundaries for myself. But I did that through trial and error, through making mistakes, talking to the wrong people, putting myself in positions where I'm like, I don't think I want to be here. This feels uncomfortable and unsafe.
Did it at all remind you of your just moving out of home days, or no, not moving out of home, actually earlier than that, of your new boy days?
Yeah, no.
Moving out of home days?
No.
Okay.
It was weird. It felt like moving out of home days because there was the freedom aspect, but I had a home to come home to where I was fully accepted as myself also. Back when I moved out from, Airport Road, I moved out and then I just didn't go back home. I went back home sometimes, but not very much. This was different. I was just going out to have fun and then I was coming back. This was my home space. So that kind of safety, nest felt very good to relax into. And it felt more free than I had felt ever. That was more like stage one, phase one. That's how it felt to me, because I had the freedom to choose what I was going to do, who I was going to spend my day with, And I still feel like that.
So in that way, you're still in that stage, it sounds like.
Well, at least that part of it. There's parts of it that have shifted and changed. Definitely.
Where was the next big shift for you?
Well, Cody and I started dating, and I told Angela, I was like, I'm not going to fall in love with Cody. She was like, okay, Bon, whatever you say. And I was like, I'm not. She was like, I don't know what to say. But I did. Okay, so that phase sort of changed because Cody and I were dating, but I was also seeing other people, and I was still, you guys were my primary partners. Then Cody went to Virginia for 3 months, and he and I continued to be dating, and I was still with you guys, and I was seeing a couple of the same people, but it's far less. And I felt like I deleted the app, basically is what happened. So I just deleted the app, and I was like, I don't care to talk to randos anymore like that. I have a couple of people that I want to hang out with, and that's perfect for me.
What was it about the app that you didn't like?
I didn't like that there was a lot of expectation. If you didn't respond to somebody, they would just delete you immediately, within a certain amount of time. People had their own time frames, and I felt the same, and it made me feel weird that I had to have that expectation as well. Also, it just didn't feel natural to meet somebody and be like, oh, I see a picture of you, you're hot, I guess. It felt very weird to, I don't know, try to meet people that way. And I did meet one guy that I am still hanging out with. And I really like him a lot, and he's a really good person. And I'm glad I met him. Even he was like, this app is no good. Meeting people in person is the way to do it. And if we had not met on the app, we would never met. So, but all the other ones, take it or leave it. I'm just not interested. But I also really wanted to go through that, I really wanted to have some one night stands and just see what that was all about.
Do you feel like that whole era was part of you testing out what you want to do, just finding yourself?
Definitely. And I did have some experiences that I was like, oh, this is really wild that I'm doing this, And I always heard people say, yeah, one night stands are really empty, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking over here, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You get to bone some rando for a while, and they put all of their best moves on you, and you're just over there nah, I'm all set. And then I experienced it, and I was like, yeah, But I definitely didn't give him all my best moves because I don't love him. Like, he's just getting mid, you know? And I just,
Did you feel like you were getting all his best moves?
yeah, that guy definitely
Okay.
was getting all his best moves.
Okay. I thought maybe if you were like, I'm not giving all my best moves, maybe that's kind of reciprocated.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
He was pretty excited.
Okay.
He reached out to me not very long ago, a couple weeks ago. And I was like, I'm all set. Thanks, though.
So then what? Deleted the app.
Deleted the app with a vengeance. Then started kind of, falling in love with Cody. Damn it.
That sounds terrible.
It was so gross. That was fucking fantastic. It's like I could literally talk about that whole story for a really long time, but I shan't bore you with the details. We met in 2019, though, at the Peacock. He asked for my number, and I gave him my number, and then we went for a walk. And I was like, I'm married, and I have a boyfriend, and I have 5 kids. And he was like, what? He's like, I'm just looking for a girlfriend. I was like, cool.
Was that the first time that you were that honest
No.
with the new person? Or you had already learned it by then?
No. No one else. When I met Cody, I felt a jolt of electricity, just like I did when I met you. But we met in person. That's the big difference, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like it was a chemical rush feeling when I met him. And then he was like, let's go for, let's hang out. And I was like, okay, well, I have kids, so I can't like go out at night. But your question was this the first time I had been honest with somebody? No, it's not the first time I had been honest with someone, but it is the first time that I wanted to be honest with somebody, if that makes sense.
It does.
So we met up and talked, and then, kind of that faded away. And then we ran into each other at Dirt Road. There were like 4 other things that happened in between there where we just sort of randomly saw each other and ran into each other and accidentally texted each other and stuff like that. It was very strange, like universe signs of like, hey, this person still exists. And I always had this feeling inside of me that was like, oh my gosh, I still always have a crush on that guy. That's so annoying. Like, it annoyed me. And then I finally let it go, and I was like, all right, I don't have a crush on him anymore. And then like 2 months later, I ran into him at Dirt Road. That's great.
How do you feel like all these different changes and transitions affected your relationship with the kids?
I feel like my relationship with the kids just continues to become more honest and more open. I feel like I don't have a lot to hide from them anymore. I want to just be my real me with them, and sometimes that just means that I'm just sitting there being quiet. And sometimes that means that I'm annoyed at them. And sometimes that means that I am playing cribbage with them.
You feel like your relationship with them, with all of them, has gotten more real, more honest?
Deeper. I would just say I'm mainly deeper.
Okay.
I feel like every moment with them is precious, and I'm not sure I really felt that way before. I don't know when the before is, but earlier in my time of being a mom, it was super precious when they were little babies. And I was like, what? This just came out of my body? So cute. And I was all snuffly and stuff.
Do you feel like you are a different mom now than you were? I mean, just because you say before. So I'm wondering if there's kind of a before and after. Like, do you feel like there's 2 different parents in this picture?
Yeah, and being a parent of little toddlers is super different than being a parent of like 10 and 16-year-olds, You're doing the different things all the time. You're like touching each other a lot more when they're little. They're sitting on your lap. You're picking them up. You're changing their diapers. You're, changing their clothes. There's a lot more like physical interaction. And then now there's more emotional interaction and nuance and subtleness and conversation and memories built But the memories started when they were little and I was sitting on the couch reading books to them. That was where they started to form. I mean, like we formed our bond little. And then now, as our bond has changed and shifted, and it's different with each of them. But me and Ike, he's my freaking world. You know, like he was my world. Like that boy. And
The oldest.
yeah, Ike is very special in my heart, as all of them are. But Ike started it, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like he broke the seal. I bet you feel like that too.
How much do you bet?
$1 million.
Do you have any way to get $1 million?
Yeah, I have to murder you.
This feels like a catch-22 for me.
Yeah, you don't get the money.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to take the bet then. Well, what feels like the next marker on the path you were walking?
When we moved in together. Are we talking about my phases still?
Well, it just kind of is starting to feel like we're past phases a little bit. More and more things are starting at this point at still continue now.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
I'm just saying,
it's
like,
very recent past, you know?
yeah, we are getting pretty recent.
And it's pretty recent. I mean, like we moved in together only in October and it's August. Nope, September. Ooh, we're almost spending a year.
We're definitely on the chapter after moving in together.
Oh, show.
You say when we moved in together. What do you mean by that?
When I mean we blended our families together and all of us are under the same roof.
Because the whole time we were dating, we were living across the street from each other.
Exactly. We were living across the street under two roofs. Two different, separate lives. And this is very different because it's more conjoined and so much better in a lot of ways. There's more chance for connection in this way. If I wanted to see Angela, I had to go to her house or wait for her, you know, the week when the girls weren't there and she would be over at our house the whole time. And I don't have to wait to see her. She's just here every day. And that's freaking awesome. I get to have coffee with her in the morning. And we went through several months where you and I were not in a good spot at all. And you spent a lot of time across the street at Angela's house. And during that time, it was me and the boys at, you know, our house. And I guess I had that old feeling again of like, I'm doing this alone again. Why does that feeling keep coming up for me? Probably a fear. Let's pretend like we didn't see that.
Well, I mean, we can switch into IFS, do a little meditation, figure out why you keep coming to a point in your life where you feel like you have to do it all alone. But it sounds to me like the third time it would be even harder. You get whipped in the face with a tree branch and then you're like, ow. And then the second time you're like, ow. And then the third time you just start swearing, like you just lose it.
Interesting. I feel like I got tougher.
Okay.
I felt like I was just like, okay, this again. I know what this feels like. Bootstraps, bootstraps.
Bootstraps, bootstraps.
During that time, I spent a lot of time with the kids and we watched movies together and we played games together and like every now and then I'd be like, all right, I'm like going out and y'all are on your own, you know, here's your mac and cheese. Just put your dishes in the sink, you know, like whatever. Your dad's across the street if you need him. But that was more rare. I didn't do that as often. But during those times, I felt like I had to kind of work harder to see Angela and connect with her and the girls. There was just kind of like like almost an awkwardness of walking across the street and feeling like, is this a good time or not a good time? You know, like I don't want to interrupt. But I don't feel like that anymore because this is my house too. I don't feel like I'm interrupting. I'm just here. I'm respectful if I like want to talk to somebody that's in your room, you know, knock on the door. But otherwise, I'm just like, my freaking house too. I'm just gonna, I was gonna live in it. If I don't want to watch this movie, I'm gonna go in my room and not watch it.
So what was your experience with the move?
It's really difficult.
What was difficult about it?
Really, really loved Adelaide Drive. I just loved that house so much. I loved it because there were a lot of memories there. It felt like we had kind of finally just gotten it like to the place that where we wanted it. But I like couldn't see beyond. It was like the conversation we're having about pulling out and seeing the bigger picture of, the breakup with all four of us. Like I couldn't see that something could be better. And no matter how hard Mariah tried to explain it to me, or you or Angela tried to explain it to me, I was like, I don't understand it until I live it. And that's just kind of maybe like how I learn, I guess. But I also was trying really hard to just be like, okay, this is totally fine. Like this is going to be good. I know this is going to be good. Just trust. But I couldn't see it. I couldn't see how it was going to be better. And it wasn't better in the beginning. I mean, we didn't even have a bathrooms with doors on it.
That's true. Why did you go along with it? Was there any part of you that wanted to?
Well, remember how I was just describing that, how awkward it was sometimes to see Angela? I knew that part would disappear. And I wanted to help facilitate a place where you two could be together with the kids. If you wanted to be together, let's just all be together. And it wasn't possible at that house, like space-wise. So I went along with it knowing that it would be better I felt like it would be better for our family dynamic of all of us being under one roof together, even, good or bad. And
what has your experience been thus far?
The first 9 months were really difficult, very tough.
That's when it became the forge. What was tough about them?
Well, for the first couple months, we're all staying in one room, 3 of us. It was kind of uncomfortable, but we all were making it work. And then Cody drove his van over here from Texas, and then he and I spent 2 months in the van. Actually, more like 3 months in the van. We had a little bit of our own space, I guess. And I felt like that created, my absence in the bedroom created like more of a nesting in the bedroom for you and Angela, which was probably really good for you guys. So when Cody left, it was hard for me to like come back in to a nest that had already been built that I didn't build because I was, like with Cody. And that felt awkward. And it was like too warm, all 3 of us in the bed together was too warm. And so like we would take turns sleeping on the floor. And I found myself just like being the one to be like, I don't want to split up the couple. Like that just feels weird. So like I'll sleep on the floor or I'll go into Logan's room. Like it just felt strange to me to be like me and Angela sleeping together, or even you and me sleeping together, because we weren't talking.
What a perspective shift. What a shift in worldview to go from when we were happily married as 2 people who felt like they had life all figured out. And really, we had a very similar vision of how to do life, how to be a husband, how to be a wife, how to raise children. I feel like there was a lot of viewpoints that at least didn't strongly differ between us. Not everything. To a place where you're feeling uncomfortable. No. What did you say? It just felt weird to be splitting up a couple, talking about your husband.
Yeah.
It just struck me as surreal to look back to see how much our perspectives have shifted.
I mean, like it's difficult too, because it's like, well, I want to insert myself, but I'm also like, nah, that doesn't feel right either. Especially since you and I were not in a good spot.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that we're in a good spot still.
That brings us to here. What's your experience now? What does your world look like right now?
So I struggled emotionally, not feeling like displaced, feeling like I didn't have a spot. I talked about that a lot.
Yes.
And I also really wanted to be clear that it wasn't because of anything that you and Angela did. It was just the situation. I felt frustrated at the situation and I just couldn't make it work.
Mm-hmm.
So the point at which I got my own room and my own space, I feel like I'm still getting used to it. Like, I'm just like, what? This is for me? I can have this room? This is really cool. Is someone going to take it away from me? I was having reoccurring dreams every day, like every couple of days for months and months on end, that we found a house and I had a room in the house. And I was like, wait, which room is mine? And then you and Angela would say, oh, this room's for you. And then I would be like, awesome. And then like the next minute, someone would be like, actually, no, this is my room. And like every time, like every room that I would go into, like I had so many dreams like this. I'm not exaggerating. That really happened. And sometimes I still have that dream. It's very weird. So during that time, I was having that kind of very deep stress of just like, I don't know where to be myself. So I feel like I'm still settling in.
And I know that was a big thing for you, not having a space that was yours. Like that was one of the biggest drawbacks, especially for you and the girls, was being more in a more communal space where there just isn't a space. In fact, no, what am I saying? That's been difficult for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
too.
feel like it's been difficult for me because that's just not how I work. But for everybody else, not having a space that is sacredly yours. And I've been learning about that vicariously, coming to kind of understand that that's how most humans work. And just trying to, be able to kind of shift how I think to be able to accommodate that, to show up for that, to have compassion for that. But I mean, when we moved in, it was like we've made three new bedrooms, basically 4, really, if you think about it. Like we had a lot of stuff to do. We had to gut the bathrooms. We didn't have bathrooms, like you said.
Yeah,
We enclosed two open air carports to make a living room. We didn't have a living room.
No living room.
So now everybody has at least a little bit of space, and you have your own room. And I could definitely see how much of a relief that is to you. And you said you're still kind of settling in.
Yeah, I feel like I need to kind of take some time to like see like what do I want to do next? Like do I want to paint this, or I have to fix the closet. It keeps falling apart. I don't know what to do. One of the little rail things, it keeps coming down and all my clothes are falling on the ground. It's really awkward. Anyways, so like there's little things like that. I'm like, okay, I gotta, like do this thing.
It feels like the whole house is full of those things right now.
Oh, I know.
And how do you feel in terms of displacement, like you were talking about before? Like, are you starting to feel more like you have a place in your own family, or how does that feel for you right now?
Oh, I had this conversation with you and Angela not very long ago. I don't know. Maybe it was a while ago. I don't know, a couple months maybe. And it was a thought that I had been having where I was thinking about, like, there was it was like the bathroom kept being dirty or something like that. And I was like, why does the bathroom keep being dirty? It's so gross. And then I was like, oh, well, if I don't want the bathroom to be dirty, I should just clean it. And so it was like I realized that I wasn't taking responsibility because I was like stubbornly digging in my heels that, quote, this wasn't my house. It's like, I don't need to take care of that. It's not my house. It's very bratty, which I definitely know that I'm a very bratty person. So I started doing all the little things, watering the plants, doing the dishes every morning, the things that I always used to do in the other house, just because I wanted it to be done that way. I was like, if I want it to be done that way, then I should just do that. So, yeah, I definitely feel more settled in, and I figured it would take a while. Less than a year, that's pretty good for a Bonnie. I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely nice to have my own space for sure. Feel like a lot less stressed out. A lot less stressed out. Sleeping way better. And when Cody's here, it's even better. So that's nice. And I think the kids are really settling pretty well. I would say that probably the toughest thing of the whole move and living up here is that it's far away from town.
Mm-hmm.
It feels far away, even though it's not very far.
Oh, but it's so beautiful.
Oh, it's freaking gorgeous. Dude, I know.
It's like we moved into a campground.
Every time that I'm sitting outside, like in the backyard or the front yard, I have like this little spot. I like to sit in the front yard. I'm like, I live here? This is where I live? This is wild. Yeah, it's gorgeous. And it's just like, you always have to drive.
Yeah.
So that part's a little tough, but.
So who is Bonnie now?
Well, started working recently. Well, I've actually been working for a year and a half, but I started another job, a different job, very recently where I'm working in a restaurant. And I haven't worked in a restaurant in a while, and I forgot how much I like it. I like it because, oh man, it's so fun. It's so fun. You get to be an experience. You get to be part of an experience that people are paying for. They come in and they're paying for an experience. And you get to be a player in their little experience. I have had the most wild and interesting conversations with customers. Just telling me about their day. A couple days ago, this woman was bringing her son to college. She's from I don't know, middle of California. She's bringing him to college and she's dropping him off. And she was just so excited, but also like sad. And she's like, he's my oldest. Do you have kids? And I was like, yeah, my oldest is 16. She's like, you're not very far away. And I was like, oh shit. It was just like an incredible, incredible conversation that I had with this random lady and her son. And it was really sweet. And I loved it. And I was like, I get to be a part of that. I get to be a part of their day. And she's like, I'm definitely coming back here. This was really great. We serve good food, so that's really nice. Like if we served crappy food, like I wouldn't be interested. But like we serve good food, like excellent food.
And it kind of feels like a stage to you.
Yes, that part's fun. And also, I'm really excited to weird out all of my coworkers little by little. Like it is so fun for me. I just like do something weird. They're like, what? What you just... And I'm like, oh, you don't know nothing, bish. So that's really fun. They're like these really sweet girls, or most of them are girls. And they're just like, so what do you like to do? I'm like, I like to hang out with my 5 kids and my 2 stepkids and my 2 partners and my other partner. And what do you like to do? And they're like, what?
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
Looking back on all of those things that make you so different, what advice would you give your younger self about your relationship decisions?
I think that I would have gone way back to like maybe just move out Bonnie and told her something like, don't let this religion get in your way. Because I feel like if I could have been honest from the beginning with my parents, like I feel like there would be more acceptance. But I don't know. I don't know that if that would be true.
So what do you mean by don't let this religion get in the way? Because then you said if I could have been more honest with my parents. So are you saying...
yeah, I guess that's true. You're right. I guess that's kind of 2 different topics, right?
Oh, that's okay. I'm just trying to figure out what the shape of what you're feeling is.
It feels heavy right now because of conversation I had with my dad recently. Just like all of that feels really heavy. He's like worried about my eternal soul. That's what he said. And I'm like, yeah, but like I'm free. I am literally exercising the free will that God gave me. So why are you mad about that? This is my free will choice.
How do you feel now as far as you talked about having guilt in the past?
Yeah.
How do you feel now religiously or with your soul,
So
to use like a Christian verbiage?
I feel like I like believe in a soul. I even believe in God. Hell yeah. I don't really know very much about what my gut says about Jesus. I feel like he was probably a pot stirrer, whether he was God's son or not, or if he was just like kind of a crazy guy. I think that, yeah, I think that I believe in God, and I think that I have a soul, and I don't know what's going to happen after I die, and that's okay.
But do you feel guilty?
Do I feel guilty? No, I don't. And I feel weird that I don't feel guilty, but I don't. It's really nice, actually, for once in my life. Not
What do
feeling
you mean
guilty.
it feels weird that you don't feel guilty?
Well, because I've always felt guilty. Feel guilty for all kinds of different things in the past.
So by weird, you mean it feels unfamiliar, maybe?
Yeah, it's like, wait, people just don't have to feel guilty if they don't want to? That's pretty nice. Like that feels that feels freeing.
Yeah.
Like I can just be like, oh, I don't have to feel guilty about that. That's fine.
And humans are pretty good at tricking themselves, but it's really
Yeah.
hard to trick yourself into thinking you don't feel guilty when you do. Like your body will literally get sick. And at least that's been my experience.
No, you're very like your emotions are very tied to your stomach for some reason.
Oh, but I mean guilt. Guilt has a huge effect on people that just live with chronic guilt.
Yeah, that's true.
And ignore it and shove it down. It has a horrible effect on them, on their health.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'm not in a very healthy spot right now, but
Do you have suppressed guilt? Is that why you're unhealthy? Is because you're suppressing a bunch of guilt?
it's because I'm suppressing a bunch of other things. Thanks
Wow.
for asking.
You're welcome.
Yeah, don't worry about that. That's how it is. Honestly, I feel like I'm untangling them more and more. That's just
Okay.
good. And guilt is one of them. Stress, that stress I was talking about of the displacement feeling.
So there is still some guilt.
No, I don't feel guilt about religion wise.
Okay.
I feel mom guilt sometimes.
Okay.
And then every now and then I feel like housewife guilt. Like, oh, I didn't wash the floor.
Do you still see yourself as a housewife?
No. Yes. Ooh, I don't know. Not really.
Where do you see yourself? How old is Sawyer? 9,
He's almost 10.
10. Where do you see yourself in, say, 5 to 7 years? Or pick any amount of years you want. Where do you see yourself in the future?
Oh boy. 6 feet under, I guess. I don't know. This is the part of my living in the moment thing that I really can't picture.
Okay.
Like I can plan something for like a year from now, be like, okay, next year I want to go to Ireland. That'd be awesome. But like 5 years, I don't know. Like I have thoughts and ideas and plans of just like, oh, that would be really awesome if when Sawyer's grown up that I can, or, like moved out or whatever, that I can be like, hey, I like want to live in Hawaii for a couple months.
But you still see yourself coming back here.
100%. I feel like as long as you guys are living here, this will be like the place where I'm like, I want to go, explore something or whatever. And then I want to come back, hang out with all of our buddies that are still in the area. Like I really want to travel. I really want to see more of the world because I just want to experience living in the moment in places all over. I'm so fascinated. But I also don't really have money for that.
What is your art?
My art is connecting with people, making people want to talk. Maybe not necessarily to me, but just talk about themselves. I make people feel comfortable, generally speaking.
Do you have any plans on doing something with your art, your thing with your art at some point? Or have you thought about it?
I think that's kind of where I get stuck. I'm like, my art is that I want to bring people together. What kind of weird sort of art is that? I mean, it's awesome when I'm invited to parties or I make parties happen, but I also, that isn't really the same. The humongo things isn't the same as like connecting with 2 or 3 people and just being like, how are you actually doing today? I feel like that is kind of one of the things I really like to do. And so I don't really know how that really translates financially, but
And does it kind of, well, and that's the thing is I'm not talking about financially. I'm talking about doingly.
doingly.
Yeah.
Well, doingly, I would like to be in a place where there are lots of people. I mean, I don't want to say like I want to live in a big city. I don't need that. I mean, I want to be able to meet people regularly. Just make their day brighter. Just smile at them. I could literally be a checker at Trader Joe's. That'd be fine with me.
And you'd still be able to do your art.
Hell yeah, dude. I'd probably be amazing at it. People would come into Trader Joe's just to see me. That's kind of what I feel like I'm trying to build right now. I want to build a place where not only I am helping people have a fun experience, but I just want to, I just want to,
You just want to.
just want to tickle people's insides. If that doesn't sound really creepy.
It doesn't. Sounds fantastic.
This is what I want to do. It's what I like to do. I like to laugh. I love to laugh. And I like it when people laugh around me.
Thanks for sitting with me, telling your story. At least a couple of high points.
I didn't think I talked for a really long, fluffy time.
Oh, but we just touched on the main things.
We've known
There's
each other
so
for
many different
so
directions.
long.
Yes, we have.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I have a question for you.
I love questions.
What made you change your mind when I asked? And I was like, will you interview me? And you're like, no. And then you were like, do you still want to?
You asked me this before when I said, when do you want to do an interview? And I think my answer was next question.
Oh, yeah.
But I wasn't expecting that. I didn't know what to say. And I've kind of learned, at least I'm learning, that if I don't know what to say, I don't start talking.
Mm.
But I didn't change my mind. I wasn't ready.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have an intense history, a lot of trauma. You and I have created and nurtured so much trauma over our couple of decades.
Mm-hmm.
And we have both been doing everything we can to heal from that and to find ourselves. And it's an ongoing process. How do I sit down and be curious about a story that I think I already know?
Mm.
That's a little scary. Am I even going to be able to show up functionally? I don't know.
Mm.
Then I sat with it for a while, and I realized that, to your question of what changed my mind, it's not perfectly honest to say I didn't change my mind, because when I said it, no, I said not right now. I'm not ready. Then I was ready. So in that way, I didn't change my mind. But what made me ready, which is I think what you're asking, is I realized that one of the biggest lessons I've been learning for a while is I've transitioned into what I think of as a choiceless life. That's what fits me. I'm a dreamer. My head's in the clouds all the time. I'm always thinking of ideas. But as a dreamer, I'm not real good at taking an idea and implementing it.
Mm.
And I call that architecting. When I try to architect, I find it doesn't create functionality. Whatever I'm trying to architect fails. So I'm learning not to architect. And I realized that when I said no, I was architecting. When the conversation comes, I want to have the conversation ready or not.
Mm.
Because doing the thing you're not ready for is the only way to learn. And I really like how my life turns out a lot better when I'm not in charge of orchestrating the details. I have ideas, I talk about them to the people around me, and then I let them go. And I have no attachment to the outcome. If it doesn't take on, great. Move on to the next thing. Because there's always the next thing. And that I found peace in that. And so when I realized that I had architected it, And Eric Gotze, one of my favorite podcast hosts of all time, who very much in the same way that Prometheus Rising helps shift perspective, he did that for me in a huge way. And he has a thing he calls death cookies. Something you know you're supposed to do, or something you're supposed to do, even if you don't know it, and you don't do it, whether by procrastination or fear, whatever the reason is. And the longer you go without doing it, the more you get drained of the energy that flows to create for whatever it is you want to do. Because there's this thing that subconsciously you know you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But you can't do it for whatever reason. And so that knowledge is like siphoning off energy. That's the best way I can figure it out. Then when you eat the death cookie, when you do the thing, all of that energy that's been siphoning into that thing is restored to you and more. So I realized when I architect, I know that it's not the way I want to live. And so I start to see the results and I realize, oh, I have a thing I'm supposed to do. So my realization was that I'm wasting my time until I interview you. And then it let me really think about it. Like, why is it that I hesitate? I just got to know myself a little better. And then I realized that I don't need to hesitate because I am content no matter what happens. And I'm very curious about your story. Like, it feels amazing to have gotten past all of the blame and resentment and victimhood. And I'm not saying I got past it by any means. I'm still working, one foot in front of the other. But to get to a place where I can look at you and be like, this is Bonnie. Not this is all of the things that my trauma made me see when I looked at you. All the pain, all the fear, all the victimhood that I felt. But just the woman that you are. And when I see a human, I am always curious what their story is. So here we are. I don't know what happens next. Never done this before. And one thing that's always true is it never goes the way I think it will. So thanks for being open, sharing.
That's what I want to do.
Fantastic.
Sayonara.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye forever.
Yeah, bye forever.